In this video, we're going to talk about power clusters. A guy named Ogden gets credit for coming up with this concept. The basic notion behind power clusters is that you take a group of individuals, a group of organizations that have common interests, and they will band together in order to create a cluster that will lobby for and advocate for a certain policy. For example, in a previous version of book that I've used for this class, one of the listed power clusters was the Food and Ag Power Cluster. These are your farm groups and commodity groups like the National Corn Growers Association that have a vested interest in a certain policy happening or not happening. And these groups get together because they've got commonality and common interest, and they form a cluster, a power cluster. You might, for example, have a cluster related to food safety and nutrition. So individuals interested in food safety and nutrition would find themselves in this power cluster. And what's really interesting about that is that you can find federal agencies in these power clusters as they interact out in society. For example, the FDA is probably a part of the food and nutrition power cluster because they're in charge of food, right? The Food and Drug Administration. The USDA is involved in food safety and nutrition. So they might find themselves in this power cluster. And so don't think of it as just like trade groups. Think of it as anyone with a vested interest might find themselves in a power cluster. There might be an environmental power cluster, for example, that argues for stricter environmental regulations. And so that's the idea behind the power cluster.